This is Excalibur Umbra, the fourth most used Warframe in 2023. This might be controversial, but Warrior's Rest is a game changer, and finally allows me to make the build that I really want. I don't know if people know this, but without Warrior's Rest, Excalibur turns into a Spectre when you swap to Operator. The awful secret about this is that it resets all duration-based abilities like Roar or Eclipse, which I think are a perfect choice to buff his Exalted Blade. Before this augment, I used Breach Surge, which still works pretty well, but it also means that you have two blinding abilities, and I always try to avoid redundancies like that. So really, those are your two choices. If you like having him as a Spectre when in Operator form, you'll have to choose an active ability like Breach Surge or Terrify, but for me, I'll remove that feature to build him more like a pure buff frame. He does still retain the original passive of having 10% bonus melee speed and damage when wielding sword-type weapons. His first ability is Slash Dash. Rush forward to strike an enemy, knocking them down and giving them a slash proc before chaining to as many enemies as it can for free. Range and damage are affected by mods, plus you gain 25% damage per combo level. For a while, I never used this or Radial Javelin, but this ability is way more useful. The main trick is only using it when completely surrounded, as the chain range is really small, but it does deal pretty decent damage, unfortunately still not the damage that you really want. His second ability is Radial Howl, where you stun everything within range. Those enemies are opened up to finishers as well as receiving the stealth damage bonus. This ability also removes the damage resistances of sentient enemies including Stalker. The range and duration are affected by mods, but having a 25 meter range at base makes this ability really great for stunning everything that can be hit by your Exalted Blade. This will drastically boost its DPS thanks to the stealth bonus. His third ability is Radial Javelin, but sadly this one just isn't very good, so this is my choice for getting replaced by a Helminth ability. The Furious Javelin augment will make the ability much more useful though, by giving bonus melee damage per enemy hit by the javelins. Like I said earlier, depending on whether you use Warrior's Rest or not, you'll have to choose between an active ability or a duration-based buff like Roar, Eclipse, or Nourish. His final ability is Exalted Blade. Summon a glowing sword that launches energy waves with each strike. These waves punch through all enemies with their total distance reduced after each enemy hit. The waves also have damage fall off, but the sword and the waves count as separate attacks, so you essentially get double hits on enemies. Slide attacks produce a very small radial blind, while using Slash Dash with it active produces an energy wave every time it connects. Using the Chromatic Blade augment converts damage to pure elemental, allowing me to have insane amounts of fire and viral damage that are almost dead even. Obviously, one of the nicest things about him is that he has the triple Umbra polarities built in, which almost makes him a zero forma build. Of course, I always use adaptation, but I'm also using Carnus Carapace to have that little boost in defense, although that mod can be whatever you want. Two of those slots are already taken up by Warrior's Rest and Chromatic Blade, but honestly for me that's an easy decision to make. Because he only cares about buffs and his Exalted Blade, I just need strength and duration, which makes things really simple. As the first of the triple Umbra tanks, you only need Arcane Grace for survivability, so I've added Arcane Avenger to get free crit chance in addition to my Roar buff. I don't have a single crit mod on Exalted Blade, but honestly it's not even really necessary with just those two buffs. I hope it's clear why Umbra is so highly used. He's cheap to build, and for the most part you only need one duration mod to hit 155%, and then the rest is all strength to hit 216% for your Exalted Blade and your buff. Hitting that 1000 plus armor cap gives you about 80% damage resistance, which allows you to run around slapping enemies in the face with your Exalted Blade without having to worry too much about taking big damage. Overall, he's just so fun and easy to use, no wonder he's such a classic. Alright folks, that's right, we're back again with the back half of the video, as always. A very special one, I'm sure, for a lot of people, Excalibur Umbra. We're gonna get things started with my favorite setup. For a long time I could never use this, but yes, now I can use Roar because of Warrior's Rest. And so you're just seeing, I'm gonna activate Exalted Blade in a second, but really, as a triple Umbra tank and having access to Roar, Excalibur Umbra just does so well. Obviously because he's a buff frame, I'm going to be using a meta primary like the Torrid Incarnate, but yeah, you're seeing it, he just turns all weapons into absolute goofy moments, so it makes things really easy. I'm going to clear out these lasers just because they're a little annoying. But yeah, I mean, I think without further ado, I owe you guys some Exalted Blade, so let's whip that out and get that started. Okay, here we go, Exalted Blade moment. So, what are we really talking about, folks? I mean, first of all, I hope you're noticing, I am just tanking damage. I am just taking it right to the face, not even doing anything about it, not batting an eye. Having that 80% damage resistance is really nice. But it really just means, like I said in the video, that you can just kind of run around and go wild and you don't have to worry about too much stuff. I did just use the slide attack Radial Blind, which I don't like very much. It actually kind of makes Exalted Blade a lot worse. So you'll notice if I want to move forward, I'm using the forward blocking combo of the Exalted Blade, and that's going to give me a lot of forward mobility. Now, what I also want you to notice is pay attention to my crits. So I'm going to make sure that Crit Cats isn't active. I am getting a little bit of a Gladiator set bonus, which is kind of nice. But yeah, you're seeing it. I mean, what you're really talking about is, with Arcane Avenger, obviously Crit Cat is going to skew it a little bit, but with Arcane Avenger, you are getting pretty high crit chance. It's not 100% crit chance, but it is like, you know, my guess is at least like 75 or 80% crit chance, which is really nice. And all that really means is that, you know, like I said before, you don't really need any kind of crit stats or anything. Arcane Avenger kind of does all that for you. I think the black and white man is walking over this direction, so I'm going to have to guide the enemies over here. But yeah, I mean, it's super simple. It just deals so much damage. I'm not really going to be able to take advantage of that, so I'm going to kind of keep the enemies over here. But yeah, without that black and white man buff, I'm still getting 72% on my damage buff, which is really nice. And of course, before I forget, I also want to talk about his favorite synergy, or one of my excuse me, goodness. One of my favorite synergies, which is of course spamming slash dash. I mean, you're seeing it. I don't have a lot of combo, but it still deals a lot of damage. Like, obviously it's not like one-shot super crazy damage, but it's still really fun to use. And it feels super Warframe, like to just be able to click one and then you just kind of dash around and strike them, and it looks super cool. And you can see, I mean, I'm actually pretty impressed. I think part of it is that you have to be consistently looking at new enemies. So for it to work properly, you kind of have to be like, oh, there's an enemy in front of me, let's look at it, make sure the blade is targeting it properly. And then finally, now that I have this situation all set up, I'm going to use Radial Howl. Radial Howl is going to give me that massive stealth bonus. You can see my DPS just went crazy. Like, it just boosted so bad. Oh, that is Violence, so Violence can definitely kill me. But thankfully, Violence is dealt with super easily. I am playing a little risky, so I'm going to pop a life support before we deal with the other bosses. But yeah, I mean, you're seeing it, folks. Like, oh, you can't use your Exalted Blade because Violence stole your weapon? No big deal. Or stole your abilities, I should say. No big deal. Swap to, you know what I'm talking about. Swap to your Torrid Incarnate, and then suddenly everything dies. Yeah, there you go. That guy's done for. Pop into Operate and deal with them. And yeah, that's pretty much what you're talking about, folks. I mean, overall, what you're noticing is just, he pretty much only needs Exalted Blade. And then buffing Exalted Blade as much as you can is really the only solution that matters. And then, of course, that allows you to just kind of run around and tank a bunch of hits. You know, if you're feeling fun and excited, you can hit slash dash a whole bunch. You know, obviously Radial Howl is really, really useful. So, you know, as soon as you do the Howl, you can almost guarantee that anything that gets hit by Exalted Blade is pretty much dead. So it makes things really simple. But yeah, that's about all I got for you, folks. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of Umbra or my build in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed and want to see more, please like the video and subscribe if you want to catch me live.